Hello everyone, War Angel here, and welcome back to our Western Roman Empire campaign for Total War Attila. Now, as you can see, the town of Colonia Agrippina is not having a good day today. It's pouring down with rain. It means that the peasants and the civilians aren't out in the town. It's very desolate. But it could also have something to do with the fact that where we left things off last time, the town is under siege by the British. Now, they're spread out a little bit, so if I'm just going to pop onto the tactical screen, help out a little bit better. Can we spin this around? This is technically how the battle is set up on the mini-map, so that's how we're going to keep it. So, as you can see, the enemy force is split up into two sides. One side attacking us from the east, the other from the south. Most of their force is focused down here on the south, so that is where we're going to be defended mainly. They do have an onager sitting over here, so I was a little concerned. What I ended up doing was putting a unit of scout equites behind this group of buildings to be hidden. So when the enemy dedicated their forces, we can run around and attack them before it does too much damage. At the moment, it is focusing quite a bit on this tower. It's going to take a while to destroy it because it's not the accurate. Although you can actually see the shots going across the screen right now. Very, very cool. The rest of them I've actually set up in the center of the settlement so we can establish where we need to send them. But because I wanted to try and rely on this side with the watchtowers, what I've decided to do is set a unit of Legio and 2 units of Combatanensis spears up to hold the enemy in these streets. What I'm hoping to do then is be able to try and reinforce them as much as I can, as well as let the towers do what damage they could. So at the moment, we're just waiting for them to make their way towards us. If I speed the game up a little more now. Okay, I'm moving my archers over here, where I realise the main enemy attack from the east is coming down this street, so they're already starting to take their shots. They're going up against Mercenary Celtic Band, not very good units, as you can see from the tooltip in the bottom left, but we can still do a little bit of damage if we weren't careful, and of course we've got the onager worrying about right now. But Sagittari, I'm not concerned about with them taking casualties. Once I had an idea where the enemy was starting their assault, I brought in my heavy Legio in order to blockade this entranceway. We have put a barricade down here as well, so they can't come and flank us from behind. They can only come of us from either the left or the right. Now, luckily for me, as the enemy is still focusing their onager on my bowmen, so we're not taking any casualties here. Although the enemy is about to take some, thanks to those darts. I believe it's now darts they're firing, isn't it? Yes, it is. So instead of throwing javelins, they're throwing these very heavy darts that will just pierce skulls fairly easy, and fairly easy to throw as well. So, these guys are going to hold the line here. What happened over here now is that the enemy has decided to attack most of their force down here against my unit of Legio, which has been in defensive testudo in case they got attacked by the enemy's raiders. You can see the raiders, in fact, while I'm talking about them, have actually started burning down the settlement. Luckily they don't do much damage, and as you guys know, the more damage the settlement takes, the penalties we will start receiving to our troops will start getting higher and higher. Luckily we don't have to worry about that. But whilst they're attacking here, they also brought 2 units to come and deal with my Combatanensis here. Because of the fact that these were losing, as far according to the game, I brought in some reinforcements from this unit of Celtic Spearmen, and I brought another one over here to deal with the Spearmen that were trying to capture the tower. Now, I didn't expect them to really do a lot, but the tower has done a fair few casualties to this unit. So between the 2 of them, I figured this should kill off this unit, and all I want to do is try and drive them away. Over here, the equites by this point have already dealt with the enemy's onager. I'm fairly happy with that. And I'm bringing them over now to try and attack this unit from the rear. Get them to retreat, and then we can free up this unit to try and do something else with it. I'm still as well trying to make sure we keep units nearby. I've pulled this unit of Sagittari from the walls, so they can start firing down into the unit's ranks in front of us. Now I've got my general's unit of Combatanensis spears originally staying in the settlement in case we needed to deal with them, but these guys are, despite the little red, cross here, or cross swords, is actually doing fairly okay with the support we're getting from the arrows, and I am making sure to focus them on the rear of the enemy's units, so we don't take much in the way of friendly fire. But while that's been going on then, I'm bringing these guys down with my general coming over to reinforce the right flank. You can see these guys have started to take a few casualties, and I didn't want them to break, so I figured bringing the general here will give them a nice little boost to their morale. Now that we've dealt with the situation here as well, the enemy, we've managed to slay that unit of Nordic spearmen. I'm bringing in the Equites now to try and deal with the situation here. And with this unit, I'm going to bring them back towards the other side where my Legio are holding. My plan was to try and bring them up through the street here in order to come and flank the enemy from behind. It'll take a little while for them to get there. They are fairly tired, to be fair, so it will take their time, but they will get there eventually. Most importantly though, we've managed to get the Equites charging into the rear. That was enough to cause a lot of damage to this unit of Nordic spearmen, which broke, and this one followed very quickly afterwards, so very happy with the result. I started sending my units to try and chase some of them down, only 2 of them. This unit was sent back. I can't remember where I sent them back in hindsight. I think, going from the way they're running, I probably sent them up through the plaza here to try and get into position and help the Legio unit and reinforce it. So that's where they're off to. The Equites are about to charge into this clump of enemies stuck in this street, but the problem is the enemy is so blocked and taking up so much room. It's very hard for us to actually try and deal with these units that are currently fighting at the front, because they're about here, and right behind them they've still got like their general and a unit of Nordic spearmen and these skirmishers all trying to push their way through. Some of them are fighting, but most of them are just sort of stuck in the back, which is making things a little difficult to try and do any proper damage, but my men are still holding the line, fighting, well, Roman and Roman, or technically I suppose, it's what might be a British soldier being taught in the way of fighting as the Romans do, but he died. The thing is, we're still holding the line. You can see it all, massive stab with a sword right then, and wow. I do have a mod, I believe, that does more combat animations, so it was really cool actually seeing them up close and personal, and actually getting them to do a bit more damage. That's really, really cool. But anyway, we're focusing too much. If I pull back here a minute, you can see I did bring out the Equites out with the plan to try and do a cycle charge, but the enemy did bring out their Nordic skirmishers, which was fine. I charged them in. I got these guys then to try and bring in some rear charges. I don't expect them to do a lot of damage. They are exhausted after all, and they're going to try their best, but the morale penalties they're providing from that rear charge will be enough to help things out there. If we head back over to this side, you can see that Legio unit is still holding in strong. That unit of combatants of spears that I sent to reinforce has finally arrived. This unit has managed to get into position. I did set them up around here with the plan to eventually charge straight in, but they didn't quite all go running in, so you got all these guys in the back sort of just queuing up, waiting for their turn. It's like watching an action movie, you know, where you got the hero fighting against a group of bad guys, and all the bad guys are coming in one at a time. It never made sense to me. Watching films like that, it just doesn't. Anyway, we've managed to hold on strong here. The enemy is starting to retreat, but they haven't had enough losses that they will probably be coming back. So I'm still holding on the line, still trying to deal with these, and I'm just hoping that enough breaks are going to cause the enemy to chain route, and we can see give things a little more. I am bringing a unit of combatants of spears to try and help attack from the rear as well. And if we come back over to this side, you can see one unit has actually broken those skirmishers. We're still trying to do cycle charges with the Equites, but with the spearmen now charged in, it's not being as effective because we're charging right into the rear of our own troops. We're not causing casualties to them, but it is not making our charges that effective. We are trying though, and I think at one point I started bringing out my Celtic spears to pull them back because I realised the cycle charging was doing much better for us. So eventually I will be pulling these guys out, but on the whole, we're still doing okay. The enemy is still holding in, unfortunately. Not surprising given the difficulty perhaps, but things are happening. You can see here me trying to do another charge. Not working out as well as I was hoping for though. Just to zoom back over here, my units of spears coming in to reinforce is making their way around. The enemy swordsmen have charged back in as well, but we are outnumbering them quite a bit. And they are starting to be shaken and raven. So I'm trying to pull these guys to push forward when I can, but I think at this point I was focusing more on the other side just to make sure things are going okay. So They are trying their best thing, but we're hacking them down, as you saw just then. This unit retreats once again. These guys are sort of pinned, so unfortunately not much we can do to help. But I am going to start bringing these guys forward to try and chase them down. I'm hoping as well our troops get into a rear position on these guys would have been enough to start causing them to waver, but it didn't quite work. Instead we got a flank charge from this unit of spearmen. These guys are going to charge straight through, and we are getting a little concerned now. These guys are starting to waver as well. A lot of casualties been taken by them, but we are still holding. That is the main thing, we are still holding over here. Jumping back onto this side though, you can see we've actually won this battle. Enemies are starting to retreat. We're chasing them down with whatever units we've got available. I'm bringing in my equites, for example, so we can actually be able to run after them rather than units getting caught. But we are doing okay. We've managed to pretty much secure the side. The general is still hanging on in there though, so they're going to take a little while left. But as you saw in the pop-up, one of my units has started to retreat to that unit of Legio that's held the line here for the entire battle. We are trying to chase down what units we can. These guys are shattered, so I'm bringing in these guys just to chase them down. These got caught up with that unit of Celtic Warband that kept retreating. And I brought in my Sagittari that was originally going to try and reinforce fights down here. But as soon as this unit started to retreat, I ended up chasing them down with them instead. They were a lot more fresh, so I thought it'd be more useful. They've managed to waver, well, come back, luckily for me. And it is this point we've won the battle. Didn't take a lot of casualties. If we hover over here, we can see we've got 830 men left. So it's taken about 530 casualties at this point. But we've left a lot of British dead on the streets of Colonia Agrippina. We're going to be chasing down the survivors now for the next 5 minutes, just to try and kill off as many as we can. So with this, guys, I shall see you back on the campaign map. Well, there we have it, guys, a close victory for us. The entire enemy army wiped out, with the exception of one unit that managed to escape, I think, fairly early on in the battle, from what I remember. But, on the whole, pretty happy with that outcome. Now, the question is, what we're going to do with our 304 captives. We get 457, 9% replenishment, or just kill them. For this, I'm going to go and take the extra bit of cash. There's no harm in taking it. And Britain have learned not to try and mess with us too much. Ooh, messing with us? What are you doing?
Honorable enemies, we will be in war.
Okay.
I trust my once friend. Your people will fall into darkness and despair.
Interesting. So Judea has actually declared war on me. Not the Eastern Romans, but me. Interesting. I'm gonna accept and I'm gonna call in my allies simply because they're in a position to actually deal with them. I'm not concerned about them, they're too far away for me to think about them, but hey, one of those things, eh? Anyway, what we got to do? Enemy killed in battle, enemy investments, we'll go and deal with that. I think that was everything, yeah. So first of all, let's go and deal with this. I'm guessing the Western Roman separatists have run out of settlements, because this is typically a AI suicidal charge to try and claim territory as quickly as you can. Never mind that it's a walled settlement it's going after, and there's no way it can actually win the fight. So we're going to push out. As you can see, very easily got them to run away. We're going to try and chase them down. Nice easy fight for us. We're just going to go like this and stab him in the throat. Perfect. Right, that's the siege of Euboea is lifted easily enough, and we're just going to kill them. Thank you for telling me. And yeah, they were in fact destroyed. Alright, let's put you guys back in there for now. I'm gonna have to spend a bit of time developing the wall settlement again. Otherwise, we'll just leave it as it is for the moment. Okay. What else we got? You're still a slight issue, but you're okay. I'm still looking forward to finding out if this fleet actually does work and block the land pass, or the enemy is still going to be able to make their way over. I mean, if they can go by boat, so that's fine. I'm not expecting them to do that. But I'll be glad to see if that actually has any good results from it. You need a bit of repairing as well. We will go ahead and do that right away. Augusta Trevorum. I've got a spare slot for you. What was I going to do with you? Was it for Greco-Roman paganism is getting there. Celtic paganism was going down, right. So religious buildings we don't have to worry too much about. We've already got the governor's house. Maybe we'll go ahead and just get my hands on a forum. Start organising a bit more money coming into the area. I mean, we do have a guardhouse being built at Colonia Agrippa. Oh no, we've already got it built there. My bad. Well, we could go for the religion. Nah, we'll go for... Sanitation's actually really okay right now. We'll just go for the forum. That will help a bit. Although, speaking of military buildings... Not this one. Octodurum. How are we doing here? We've got a garrison encampment. We could upgrade it to a quarters if we wanted to increase the garrison. Given its location, I'm actually a little tempted to actually get rid of the garrison building now. Although saying that, Argentoratum is here. It's still within range of enemy forces, although we do have the army here at Eubusis, the Black Legion, in a position to try and stop any enemy attacks making their way through. And we can easily march down here if needed. If it wasn't for the fact that we're trying to sort it out, in fact, we did have a priest around here, did we not? Yeah, here we are.
What do you wish?
I'm going to get you up towards Eubusis. We'll be able to try and convert over then. And hopefully get the public order a little bit more stabilised. It's still -2 though. Why is that? Oh, you haven't got a governor's place, that's why. Right. Let's go ahead then, and I'm going to open up the land straight away. We're going to go ahead and build a capital building. That will sort that out. Here we're going to go for a tabernae or guardhouse. I mean, to be honest, guardhouse would have just done the job already, wouldn't it? Yeah, -2. Just building that will be enough. But then if we can get that, we can eventually swap these out and maybe go from other buildings. Oh, we'll just go for that. Yeah, that's fine. We'll go for a tabernae as well, just because then we can get a bit more cash coming in. I think everybody else is fine and dandy. We've got rebels, right? Let's go and deal with you. That's the thing when you do weekly episodes, you come back sometimes and you think, oh, when did that happen? Right. Hopefully. Oh, you sods.
On the move.
And we've just run out of movement points in order to be able to try and do something like go into ambush. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to come back in here. Hopefully this army will try and attack Pompello. There is a chance it might head up towards Ilusa, or maybe head down to Caesar Augusta. If it does, we'll be able to come after them ourselves and hopefully deal with them. We haven't got the money to expand the army anymore, so that's a little unfortunate. Speaking of armies, what was happening here, right? We've got a full stack here with a rogue tier ready to potentially go after the Maurians. We have a 13 stack, a 2 stack, whatever is here in the garrison, 5 units, and 2 ships. In theory, we should be able to take this out, and with what we got. I don't know what the generals got, but I would say we've got a better chance of dealing with them. Yeah. Or do we wait just for that extra support? Nah, we might as well take the thing, and otherwise the army's just going to be sitting here until we can get some more units down here, and that's not brave. Let's do the war. So, in fact, we're just going to click on you guys. Nope, we're going to go by land, declare war. We're not going to ask these guys to come in because there's no point. And we'll see how this goes.
Let them cower before Rome.
Okay. Balance bar is fairly equal, slightly in our favour, I would say. They do have a host of camel riders, as well as desert raiders and things like that. The units, though, are nothing really for me to worry about. The biggest concern might have been like the general, but given the amount of spearmen we have, I think we can win this fight. So, because the balance bar is like this, I'm not going to just auto-resolve. I will, in fact, fight the battle myself. We're just going to double check. I am attacking the... Yeah, I would be attacking the settlement, because it wouldn't be giving me any choice to encircle, would it? Okay, I'll see you guys down there. Wish me luck. Well, here we are, guys, outside the settlement of Tamousiga. Now, I have to say, looking at it and seeing how much of a nice day it is, it really made me think about wanting to go on holiday. But, unfortunately, we're not here for that. We're here to kill the defenders. So what I decided to do initially was split my army into two. You can see there's a large attack force over here and a second one over here. What I was planning to do originally was to stay back in order for me to attack the enemy towers with the onagers. There's a tower right here and a tower over here that were defending the main approaches I was going to attack through. So I figured I'll try and originally go for those. Unfortunately, I have to be honest here, I got blindsided by the enemy. I noticed this unit coming out to attack, and I thought, okay, there's mounted skirmishers, that's fine. And then as the, battle continued, I couldn't help but notice more and more and more and more of the cavalry coming out to attack. So I ended up moving, adjusting my formation so the Nordic spearmen stayed behind one unit of onagers. I didn't notice until too late though that this unit had actually pulled forward in order to try and get into range of this tower. Although if I hover over its range of, its range of attack, it was actually in range originally. It's just for some reason it chose not to do that. But realizing that the enemy has now decided to come out to attack my army, I very quickly started moving these guys over to try and come in onto the flank. My commander here is riding his Imperial Legatus. They run off way ahead of the rest of my army over this side, which turned out to be a little unfortunate, as you'll see shortly. Luckily we managed to survive it, but because I was busy doing that, you can see this unit of camel warriors charging straight into the onager crew. Now they do unfortunately get devastated, especially you'll notice now by friendly fire from my javelins. So we took a few losses. These guys are starting to waver and retreat already, as you can see here. The camels, though, managed to do their damage, and thank you, game. But luckily, the Legio was able to do at least some damage to them. Now, because the enemy have come out in force, I decided to change my attack plan and focus the artillery on the big clumps of units that are around. I'm waiting for their infantry to basically attack my line, so we'll be able to try and go after their ranged units with something like the Legatus. Unfortunately, the camels decided to come and attack them originally. We were able to get them out in time and get them surrounded by many of my spearmen, but it did put a bit of a kink in the plan because obviously now all these are engaged. We've also got these guys. They were going to be tough to deal with. I didn't actually realize, I think until now, that they could actually run and shoot. I don't remember if that's a thing where all the units skirmish and can fire. Would it tell me down here? Parthian shot, right. Yeah, I can fire all around. Didn't know that when I fought the battle. So I tried chasing them away with my units of equites, and they just started getting shot to pieces. I did pull them back for something, from the looks of it, but I can't remember what. But yeah, between these guys firing away and then these guys coming in, you can see a lot of casualties were done by that unit, and it did not last too long. But luckily over here, we've managed to do enough damage to the camel riders to force them to retreat, and with the darts being thrown by my Legio, it's enough to cause sufficient damage and get them to waver. Over here though, the line is being held. The enemy have dedicated their attack across the entire line. We do have some, mounted attacks, that's the word I was looking for, against here, but luckily for me, my Nordic spearmen in their formations were holding it just fine. Especially given the fact they were in formation, was giving them that missile block chance, which is very useful. I started bringing in my Levis Amatore in order to try and attack these enemies from the flanks. Does a bit of damage initially, but then the commander comes around on his cavalry. So unfortunately between these two, this unit is starting to, going to be taking a fair bit of damage. Luckily though, we do have these 3 units of spearmen, so they're going to be able to help out. The onagers have been helping out the entire battle. I've started moving their attacks, so they attack more in the rear here. So in fact you can see them firing away right now. We also got the crew back onto here, so we're able to get them to continue their damage, and now my reinforcements are starting to come in. We are engaging with the enemy's raiders as well as some of the spearmen that came running out, but on the whole it's going to be pretty straightforward for us. My Legatus is now going after these unit of herders. We're going to deal with them. We're seeing examples of my troops running away, like this one over here for example, but luckily for me we've managed to pin the enemy's chieftain down with my units of spearmen. These guys end up retreating, as you can just see. But these guys are still going to hold the line, and it's going to be long enough for us to be able to reinforce as soon as we can. Onagers are still firing down over here, and I did notice the enemy's ships are starting to make a landing. So I did, we shift the priorities of this this Onager crew to try and go after their commander on this ship, but unfortunately, oh no, it would have been this ship. Oh, I aimed at the wrong ship. Doesn't matter anyway. They're starting to make their landings though, and unfortunately for them, they ran out of time. You can see now the enemy's force has basically shattered completely. A few units are still hovering in there, like the archers here. We've got a unit of spears are sort of making their choices. And their chieftain, after taking a ton of casualties from my spearmen, have decided to try and help join the reinforcements. This part though got a little worrying. My legatus cavalry have come after the bowmen over here. They're not being attacked at the moment majorly by any of the towers, but, well, I say that and I just started firing. We're not taking many casualties from them, and the bowmen are not going to be a threat. What was a threat though was that the entire enemy reinforcements, including their chieftain, was making their way towards the settlement and could have potentially go after my commander in the rear. Luckily though, I'm springing in all my spearmen to try and chase them down and catch them as close as we can. I'm very fortunate the AI decides to shift the attack priorities and go after my spearmen instead. It's not going to be looking good for them. They try a charge in here, for example with my Legio. Their skirmishers, their naval hurlers, as well as this unit of light boatmen, and trying to go after my spearmen. Not a good show for them at all. They're going to get a rear charge. Everybody is starting to waver and take casualties straight off the bat. Over here now you can see these guys are still hanging on in here. My legatus, I'm realizing, are not really as deadly as I thought when it comes to dealing with these guys. My equites tend to do a lot more damage, I've noticed, than the legatus. But what sells eventually was the news then of the enemy General. God, today has been a real big problem with words. But the general has been killed. That forces a chain rout. These guys start retreating, and because it is a siege assault, technically a settlement assault, we don't need to chase down the defenders because they will just be eliminated through the us winning the battle. So with this victory, guys, we'll make our way back to the campaign map. See you there. Well, an unexpected fight, a few more casualties taken than I expected, but on the whole, we managed to win. That's the main thing. Didn't lose any 4 units, although we came extremely close with some of the units like the Equites here and the Levis Armatare, but we managed to take the settlement. We could subjugate them, but I just want the whole province, so we're going to take it. Right, what have we got to work with? Got a village. We will be swapping that over at some point. We've got military jetties. It's tempting, but given its position, I'd think I'd rather go for fishing. Maybe even potentially go for trade. So we'll repair them and then we'll switch them over eventually. No, I didn't want to abandon them. Oh, I don't have the money. Why? I was wondering, why is it not letting me rebuild anything? That's why. We can get Persian scouts. Interesting. We can get that from the levy center. Or a noble estate if we wanted to try and increase. I mean, that's not too bad. Plus 3 public order, a little bit of bonus to taxes and that. We can keep that for the moment. And they're not really badly damaged, so they should be able to be fixed easily enough. How's religion looking? At the moment, ours is the best. In Christianity is slowly increasing, so is Latin Christianity. I'm not sure why those are. Gonna tell me? Oh right, just local traditions. Okay, so we're gonna have to deal with a potentially mix of all 3 of these at some point. That's good to know. But we got plus 10 to military presence right now, but minus 20 will go away next turn. Instability will go fairly quick. Hopefully this whole area will be secure by next turn. And then we can bring in the rogue tier to start maybe approaching the Sahara from the west. Because we've got Dimidi to go for, we can go after Kidmidus, and down here too. What was happening here? Why have are you laying siege to this element? Right, you are, of course. Because they've got that guard post, it is... Yeah, that's why I'm laying siege to them. Waiting for them to come out to attack me. Leptis Magna might be a slight problem. Oh no, it should be repaired now. 89%, we haven't got any breaches in the walls. That should be fine. Alright, I won't bother developing it just yet though. I'll leave it for another turn because we haven't got the cash. So I think that's really everything. Let me just check if there's anything we can do here. I'd still like to try and get our power a little bit higher. But I think everybody is sort of petered out a bit in regards to their affluence. Yeah. Well, that's okay though. Right, skills. Okay. You, my spy. We give you surveillance, sure. And I don't know what else we're going to give you. Is there anything that will give me bonuses for my settlements? Foreign armies, assassinate, could work. Foreign settlements. No, nothing. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh well. We'll give you diversion, why not? Then you, governor. You can go for that, and let me see. Public order bonus would be useful, I think. And an admiral. Oh, right, of course, right. So you need ideally some zeal, because you can see here, minus 10% melee defense and missile damage. Sorry, melee and missile damage for the commander's unit. So if we can find something that's going to provide a bit of zeal. Only if we went down this far, right. Okay. What I'm actually tempted to do, I'm going to go for Infantry Commander, because then we can unlock Fleet Commander for him and give us a bit of a bonus for the battle movement. Between that one and eventually going down for Zeal, that will help us out a bit. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, interesting. So I just denied the African faction a peace treaty. They offered it to me just a minute ago, and I denied it, and then they've decided to come and attack. Interesting. What are they going to try and bring to this battle? To be honest, I'm pretty secure in winning this. But I don't... We've seen enough times when that balance bar is roughly in my favour, and yet I will lose a lot more men. So I'm quite happy to try and fight this myself. However, I'm being aware of time, but I would like to... No, we'll end the episode here today, and we can start the next one off with yet another battle, as we defend ourselves, and I'm hoping by doing this, we actually will help our siege of Marcomedes, because I believe this is the garrison of the settlement. So if we can deal with these, and wipe out as much of them as we can, it will make the actual attack onto the settlement a much easier affair in our next turn. So yeah, that will be our plan for next episode. For now though guys, thank you for watching today's one. I hope you enjoyed, and you do join me next time, of course, for some more Attila. I'm so used to still saying Warhammer after all this time. Wow. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time. But until then, guys, take care, and goodbye for now.